the fate of DC Entertainment. So,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, because you live under a rock, Discovery has absorbed Warner Brothers Entertainment and has created the subsidiary Warner Brothers Discovery. And now they are one entity. And with that, now the main dude, what's his name? Zaslav. I can't remember. I can't figure out how to say his name exactly. But he's like the head dude. He's the head honcho. He's the Bob Iger of Warner Brothers now. Bob Iger, of course, being like one of the most beloved people who ran Disney for a very long time.
Wow.
So he has come out and made a statement that I think we as Warner Brother fans, more specifically DC fans, have been wanting to hear. And we've gotten this before. We've heard like when Warner Brothers and AT&T merged, we had faith and hope then, and nothing really happened. We never really saw anything change. People just had different responsibilities. We never knew who was leader. Walter Hamada came in and kind of did some things, and then Ann Sarnoff was there, and then she kind of did some things, but like we never knew anybody to be in charge. Now, again, we talked about this Thursday, but I want to unpack it a little bit more. It says fate of DC Entertainment. Insider says that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest in no small part on unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and The Batman, it lacks coherent creative and brand strategy. I agree with that 100%. Discovery believes that several top shelf characters such as Superman have been left to languish and need to be revitalized. They also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are a shining example of how second build characters from the DC library can and should be exploited. I think that's beautiful. Ramon always makes a joke that I always say something about, somebody with the golden pen, with the golden ink scribes out, the future of whatever. Like this is the golden ink right here. This is what that is. I mean, this right here is beautiful, and it gives me faith, and which sucks.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword because I've had faith in Warner Brothers for a long time, and none of that faith has ever paid off. None of that investment has paid off. And here we are years later, and we still have no idea what the hell is happening over there. We have no idea what property belongs to what universe. We feel like maybe they're going to use the Flash movie as a Band-Aid to fix things, and I'm not sure if I'm happy with that. We need clear direction.
It may, I don't know, it may come across as, hopefully, if they do it right and if they have good writing, you could really fix any issue.
Well, yeah, of course. But I think on top of that is good writing as well as a common focus. Letting creators be creative and do their own thing is very important, but also having a goal for them to hone in on. Like, hey, listen, you can do what you want with this, but like this is where we're headed, and we need you to head there with us.
Yeah, okay. That's a great fucking point, because the last time they tried to do that was the Star Wars sequel, the sequel trilogy, right?
Oh, you're talking about Disney, yeah.
Yeah. Now we see what happens whenever you give directors, the creative, basically freedom, but also don't keep them in check with like, hey, this is where we're going with the story.
Yeah.
Please don't diverge too much from that. And then, we get fucking The Last Jedi and then Rise of Skywalker, where it's like, shit, we got to fix all the fuck ups that the last movie made.
Well, and they're fuck ups according to the creative doing it. Ryan Johnson's Star Wars movie wasn't a bad movie standalone, but it didn't fit as part of that trilogy. And that was where Disney learned that mistake, but I'm glad to see, and they've rectified situations like that since. But like, I'm glad to see
the same thing could happen with DC. There's always that possibility, but I think with somebody like Zaslav in charge, who actually understands, products and also just kind of media management in general.
Yeah,
that's important, because if you have all these different fucking properties all over the place, it's going to feel like how it feels now, where we don't know which fucking ones are connected or not, or if they're all just standalone movies, which is fine, but it's almost similar to like the early 2000s, you know, when like they were coming out with, you know, these different properties that are in the same universe, but they don't know each other. You know, that you have a Blade, Daredevil, Elektra, all those really shitty early 2000s. Not Blade, of course, but
were they in the same universe?
Well, they were supposed to. Blade and Elektra were, or not Blade. I'm sorry, Daredevil and Elektra were.
Oh well, yeah, those two, Daredevil, yeah.
Obviously, we saw where that went.
Yeah, that's more of a stylistic choice, you know, that how that fell apart. But yeah, it was very. It was not connected, and now that we live in this world, they want to connect it. They want to put it together, and Zaslav is actually he's actually looking for the Kevin Feige of the DC property. Kevin Feige, if you don't know, is the one who pretty much ran the entire MCU. He's the one that organized it. He's the one that planned everything out and put it together, and he was successful because not only was he a nerd, a geek, you know, somebody who enjoyed comic books, has worked with many, if not most, Marvel properties even before the MCU. And we're talking like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. We're talking about Blade. You know, we're talking about this older properties. But he also knew how to make movies. He had knowledge of both sides of that. DC tried to do that. They brought in Jeff Johns, who is a comic book guy. That's what he does. He just writes comic books. And they said, oh, well, Jeff Johns is going to come in and he's going to be the person that we want to control our DC properties. But you know what Jeff Johns doesn't know how to do?
Make movies.
He doesn't know how to make movies.
Oh.
Right. And so, you know, he was a part of that whole thing with the Zack Snyder, you know, the Justice League that came out. He's the one that kind of shook that up and said, we need to take this in a different direction, you know, since, you know, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide and we can go behind his back and change everything now, you know, let's do it, you know, and that's what happened. So Zaslav has come in and basically just put down the hammer and said, we need to find this person who can do this. Maybe not in the same way. There's going to be, you know, Warner Brothers, DC's own version of doing this compared to Disney. But at least somebody has come in and recognized that all these second build characters like Joker, you know, Harley Quinn, like that should be exploited, as well as recognizing that key characters like Superman, Batman have completely been left to languish. Like he said, they just been put to the side for no other reason than what I would guess would be because they're trying to like not give too much attention to what happened with the Zack Snyder debacle, you know, with that whole thing. Like it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot of their decision making was just trying to hide, you know, what they did. And
instead of addressing, you know, addressing issues that happen, they just try to ignore them instead, or cover them up completely. And I mean, you know, CGI face Henry Cavill is a perfect example.
Or make Shazam and cut Superman's head off. And they just had a Superman cameo, which they used Henry Cavill's body double, but they cut his head off.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
It was disappointing is what it was. Like that right there was when I realized that Warner Brothers does not, that was their middle finger to all the fans right there.
Yeah.
But for the first time, for the first time in a long time, I have true faith that DC will be something we're proud of. And I'm not sure if that's going to involve a reboot or a remanaging of what we already have. I'm hoping it's a remanaging that they can fix what we have, you know, because
same here.
There are great things there. We have great properties already. And as much as I don't want to invest in a whole new reboot, I'm kind of emotionally exhausted to the fact that I might just wave the white flag and be okay with that too.
Yeah. The problem if they do a reboot is there has to be enough time that passes before they can do it again. Because, you know, if they try to do it again, there was already a lot of people who were hesitant with the Batman because they're like, well, you know, like you said, I've already seen, you know, brooding, gritty Batman.
Yeah.
It's still so fresh in all of our memories that it's hard to just come in and replace that again.
I want the alien fighting Batman. I want that Batman. We haven't seen that Batman except for BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
And, you know, speaking of that, I think there was a couple issues too that they had. You know, there's parts where they'll show, for instance, like Batman using guns and like, you know, kind of being a little indifferent towards his whole killing rule and everything. Like, I could seriously injure the motherfucker and put him in the hospital.
Right.
And you know, for fans of the comics, we understand that version of Batman. Like, there is a version of Batman that is just kind of, you know, lost his goodwill almost.
Well, that's humanity. I mean,
yeah, that just kind of happens.
That's the most human thing that Batman could do.
Yeah.
Is fall against his own principles. You know, like that's a human aspect. And what is Bruce Wayne's superpower besides being rich? He is human. He has that humanity. That's something that nobody else in the Justice League has. He's human. You know, like he doesn't have any sort of meta capabilities. And when you bring that human side to the forefront, I think that's important. And the Batman, the Matt Reeves, The Batman, which releases on streaming tomorrow, by the way.
Yes, it does.
It also plays into that human side of him, which is cool. But like, I've already seen it, so that's a different rabbit hole. We'll go down. We'll talk about that maybe later this week, since the Batman's coming out on streaming.
I have good hopes for DC Entertainment. I do think there's still time.
I think this Discovery merger is a very important and majorly needed shakeup over at Warner Brothers. He's let go a few of the bad apples. Some of the bad apples still exist. Looking at you, Toby Emmerich, but you know, but Zaslav is obviously there with a clear vision, clear goal, and I hope he finds his right person to move forward.